Hello, I haven't made a video in a couple years, so I thought I would make one about the recently released static draw objects. And static draw objects are a method to draw static graphic elements in a window via scripting. It's covered in the help file, but I thought a video might help a little bit. So here's the script draw object, and here's all the properties. You set the properties of the script draw object, and then you call one of the functions to manipulate the helper object, which then creates the static graphic elements. Make is the most common because it's used to create and change existing static objects. So let's quickly look at one script. So here's the script. This first script creates a circle that's red, and this second script creates a circle that's red but with a blue crosshatch. And you can get at the properties of the script the script draw object helper by typing SDO period, and then it will list the properties. So for example, if we wanted the foreground color, then we could just set it to, and that would be that. If we didn't know it was CL blue, we could type CL and then Alt spacebar, and it will list all properties and functions that begin with CL. So we could select blue, and that would be that. You can also insert some properties via for example, the shape. Here we use circle, and here are the supported shapes. So you can insert a line, for example, just insert a line. You can also insert window names. Here it's called screen names, if you don't remember exactly which one it was. You can also insert colors here. If it's a fixed color, you could also create a custom color, and then it would just return the value. Okay. I made a couple of simple windows. This first one calls that one script we just looked at in the traditional external script execute. The other scripts are all embedded in the objects, and we can see them here. On mouse up, set the window name, delete all deletes all the script draw objects on the window. If this was an external script, you could call this to delete all the objects of another window. It doesn't have to be embedded inside the window. This one just deletes the first circle. We give it a name and we tell it which one we want to delete. We'll see in a minute where you can delete a type. This one sets the first circle to green, so it just changes the property to green, the foreground color property to green. We tell it the window, we tell it what's the script draw object name, we set it to green, and we call make. And because we provided a name and it already exists, it changes the property instead of creating a new one. If there's an error, the last error is set to some string, and this would return false. So if it's not true, then it's going to be false, and that would be the error. Most people won't use this because there should never be errors, but if there is, you can use this to figure out what occurred. For example, if you misspelled the screen name, it would come back and say last error screen name not found, or something like that. Okay, this one just makes opacity, sets the opacity. Let's make this right here. It just sets the opacity. So this one creates another circle. It first loads first circle to get all the parameters. It's easier just to load them from the other one because I knew they were the same. Offset it a little bit and then set the opacity after I change the color also. And then there's a memo here which shows the IDs of the current objects. This reads the count of the current window. This kind of can be skipped. I just did it to show it because get IDs returns the count in the first index of this array. So for example, it would be 2 or 1 or whatever. If it was -1, then something happened. There weren't any or some other error. So it would be the first one would have the count, and then subsequent ones would have the IDs. So in this case, it's going to be 2. So values 1 and values 2 will have the name or ID. And then we add a character return line feed just so we can show it in the memo. The second window, this creates a 1,000 circles, then deletes the 1,000 circles, and this one does it by type. It says delete a type, so it deletes all script draw objects on Windows 2nd SDO. Same for this, delete rectangles. It deletes all type by type, all script draw objects on that window. This one creates a library element. It's a little bit more complicated. You have to say the group and the name, and then where you want it to be, and then its shape is library. Library elements are a way to group some static objects into a group with a name. This one's buttons only 1, and then you can refer to it on other drawings. And if you later change this element, it will change it on all the drawings because it's only a reference to this object. It actually doesn't exist on these other drawings. It's just a reference to the library object, a pointer. So it's just a way to, for example, make a valve, and then if you want to change the valve to add a valve stem or something, you can change it in one location. It changes it in every location. Okay, let's go to runtime. And here's our first window on our runtime panel. So create the 2 circles. There they are. There's the first circle. I named it. The second one I did not name it. So the system randomly generated a name. We can delete them. They're gone. Create them back. We can delete the first circle. We deleted it by name, so it's gone. The second one's still there. We can delete it, create those circles back. Now we're going to set the first one to green. There's green. Now we're going to make this one a circle right here with an opacity. And there we go. So let's close this window. Let's open the second window. And here we're going to create 1,000 circles with random colors. If we select it again, because the names are already assigned and the script is just going to try to rename them, that's all it's going to do is set the property for the color different. So we get we don't get an 1,000, we get the color changing. We create 1,000 rectangles. There's 1,000, same thing. This actually is just changing the foreground color. Now we can delete only the circles and delete only the rectangles. And then we can do this as needed. And this creates the library element, which is right there. Okay, that's a short video on SDO. If you have requests for videos on something else that don't already exist, let me know, and I'll try to create a video.